Hi everyone. Today we will discuss about strain gauge alloys and materials. In this class, we will see what are the different types of materials used in the manufacturing of strain gauges. In previous classes, we discussed about the so many different types of strain gauges and its applications and its working. In that strain gauges, what are the different materials and what are the different types of alloys are used to manufacture these strain gauges. In previous class, we discussed about the what are the different types of strain gauge alloys used in the manufacturing of strain gauges. We are using different types of strain gauges. In the different types of strain gauges, how it should be manufactured and what are the different types of materials used to manufacture these types of strain gauges. In this class also, we will discuss what are strain gauge alloys and also what are the different types of materials used in the strain gauge manufacturing. You can see what are the strain gauge alloys. If you see once, there are different types of strain gauge materials are used to manufacture types of strain gauges. What are those alloys? You can see a list of some metallic alloys commonly employed in commercial strain gauges. Together, whether their sensitive is presented in table. Based upon the different working principles and different properties should be um, based upon these strain gauges is manufactured. In different areas, we are using different types of strain gauges based upon the application. So in that application, we should manufacture and we should take different properties of that strain gauges. We should design that strain gauge and manufacture by using different types of materials in the strain gauge manufacturing. You can see what are the different types of strain gauges, what its materials is advanced or constant. And so in that material, there is a composition of two materials. It is 45% nickel and 55% copper. Okay, so those are the two different types of materials is mixed to form advanced or constant material. Okay, and next one, nichrome 5. So in that nichrome 5, 80% nickel and 20% chromium. You can see once 80% nickel and 20% chromium. In that composition mixture, we can form nichrome 5 material. And next one, isoelastic. In that isoelastic, 36% nickel, 8% chromium, 0.5% molybdenum, and 55.5% ferrous. These are the different composites mixed to form isoelastic strain gauge material. Okay, and next, Karma material. 74% nickel, 20% chromium, 3% aluminum, 3% ferrous. And next one, armor D. 70% ferrous, 20% chromium, 10% aluminum. Mixing of these composite materials to form armor D material. Okay, and next, last one, Li 479. Li 479. So in that Li 479, it forms platinum. Platinum at 92%. In this Li 479, maximum amount of composition we can take platinum. Okay. And next one, 8%. It means uh, wolfram material, wolfram composite material. That means uh, tungsten of material. That means tungsten of material. For it comes, the wall from material comes from the tungsten is a greenish white lustrous metal. Okay, so 92% platinum and 8% wall from material you can mix and to form Li479 material. Okay, these are the different types of composite materials to be mixed and to form uh, different types of strain gauge materials. Okay, and next one, uh, first one, what is constant and how it should be maintained, and what is the manufacturing procedure of this constant and how much amount of percentage of Li is to be mixed to form this constant. Most electrical resistance strain gauges produced today are fabricated from the copper nickel Li known as advanced or constant. Most of electrical resistance strain gauges, we are using different types of strain gauges. In the different types of strain gauges, one of the strain gauge is electrical resistance strain gauge. In that electrical resistance strain gauge, we can use most of these constant material. So the constant material has copper and nickel. You can see what is the percentage of copper. It is 55% copper and 45% nickel. 55%, 55% copper. Okay, and 45% nickel. 45% nickel. Mixing of these composite materials to be form constant material. Okay, so in this mixing of LIC is known as advance or constant. And a typical curve showing the perfect change in resistance, that is delta R by R, that is change in resistance to the original resistance as a function of percentage strain. This Li is given in figure. Percentage of strain is taking one side, and another side we can take percentage change in resistance. Percentage change in resistance. You can observe this graph, how much amount of percentage of strain. So the percentage of strain is increases, how much the resistance is changed. You can observe the graph. You can see this angle between in this curve. You can see this line. You can see this line. Okay, so how much percentage of strain increases, how much resistance is changed in this a constant by using this type of LIs, we can observe. So it is gradually increased, the percentage of strain is increases automatically, gradually increases the resistance developed in this electric resistance strain gauges. Okay, so because of this condition, the percentage of strain is increases automatically, the resistance produced in that strain gauge is also increases. Okay, so what is the figure? It is percentage change in resistance as a function of percentage strain for the advanced alloys. And next one, this constant Li is useful in a strain gauge applications for the following regions. What are the different reasons of this constant? And the value of the strain sensitivity SA is linear over a wide range of a strain, and hysteresis of bonded filaments is extremely small. Only the small amount of filaments are used in this manufacturing of this type of strain gauges. Okay, so the value of SA does not change significantly as the material glows plastic. The Li has a high specific resistance. So in this type of Li, what type of Lis we are taking? Copper and nickel. So in this type of Lis has a high specific resistance. So the percentage of strain increases automatically. The resistance developed in that strain gauge is also increases. The Li has a excellent thermal conductivity and is not influenced appreciably by temperature changes when mounted on common structural material. Okay, for example, you can see this, it is a strain gauge. It is a electrical resistance strain gauge. In this electrical resistance strain gauge, the excellent in this thermal in this strain gauge, electrical resistance strain gauge has a very good external excellent thermal stability. Very good, excellent thermal stability. It maintains so much amount of temperatures, and it is not affected that amount of temperature changes. Okay. Heat is applied on both ways. Heat is applied on both ways. Any type of any ways the heat is acting. Anyways, the heat is acting. It is 360 degrees of this strain gauge. The heat applied on that surfaces, it is not affected. It has a very good thermal stability. Okay, the small temperature induced changes in resistance of the alloy, it can be controlled with trace impurities or by heat treatment. The small temperature induced changes in resistance alloy can be controlled. Very small amount of temperature changes occurred on this electrical resistance strain gauge. It is controlled by using with trace impurities or heat treatment of that strain gauge. Okay, and next one, isoelastic alloy. So in this isoelastic alloy, how it will works, you can see the isoelastic alloy also employed in commercial gases because of high sensitivity, and it has high fatigue strength. These isoelastic alloy. So what are the isoelastic alloys you can use? It is nickel, chromium, molybdenum, and ferrous. So in maximum amount of ferrous we are using 55.5% ferrous we are using, and 36% nickel, using 8% chromium and 0.5% molybdenum. So these are the different composite materials used in the isoelastic alloy. So it has a very high fatigue strength, high sensitivity. Based upon this high sensitivity, the increase in high sensitivity, it is advantageous in dynamic applications where the strain gauge output must be amplified to a considerable degree before recording. So the high fatigue strength is useful when the gauge is to operate in a cyclic strain field where the alternating strains exceed 1500 microns. Isoelastic gases can be used in a dynamic applications only when the temperature is stable over the time required for the dynamic measurement. So in the dynamic measurement of that electrical resistance strain gauge or any different types of strain gauges, by using these isoelastic alloy materials, the temperature is stable and the time required is calculated in the measurement of that strain gauges. Okay. And also karma alloys, it maximum maintains 500 degrees Fahrenheit, it, and the minimum limit it is 204 degrees centigrade. These are all we'll discuss, already discussed in previous classes. So strain gauge types and gauge construction, wide strain gauges and foil strain gauges. That means it is unbonded wire strain gauges or bonded wire strain gauges and weldable wire gauges. These bonded and unbonded strain gauges are also discussed in previous classes. Multiple element of gauges. You can see what are the strain gauge adhesives and mounting methods of strain gauges. Okay, what are the adhesives and mounting methods of strain gauges? So what is the introduction of these strain gauge adhesives and mounting methods? The bonded type of resistance strain gauge of either wire or foil construction is a high quality precision resistor which must be attached to the specimen with a suitable adhesives. So the bonded type of resistance strain gauges, you are using any type of resistance strain gauges, it should be bonded with either wire type or foil type. So it should be bonded with either wire type or foil type. So in that wire type or foil type construction is a high quality precision resistor So any type of a wire or foil, it is unbonded material or a bonded material. Uh, the foil construction is a high quality precision resistor which must be attached to the specimen with a suitable adhesive. So the suitable adhesive materials are used to manufacture these type of strain gauges, and for precise strain measurements, both the correct adhesive and proper mounting procedures must be employed. For precise strain measurements, we can measure strain on different areas and different applications. Both the correct adhesive and proper mounting procedures must be employed. We are using correct adhesive. Based upon the different applications, we are using different types of adhesives. So in the different types of adhesives, it should be mounted correctly on that strain gauge, and proper mounting procedures must be employed to that strain gauge manufacturing. So the adhesives serves a vital function in the strain measuring system. It must transmit the strain from the specimen to the gauge sensing element without distortion. This role can be easily accomplished if the adhesives is suitably strong. So what is the main purpose of adhesives are used in the manufacturing of these different types of strain gauges? It play a vital role uh, on this strain gauge manufacturing. It is the adhesives are used in the manufacturing of strain gauges. It gives very high amount of energy to that strain gauges that come very strong stability gains the strain gauges. We are using this type of adhesives. Okay, mounting a strain gauge. How to mounting a strain gauge? So different types of adhesives are used in the strain gauges. How to mounting a strain gauge? This type of adhesives. So what we are using different types of adhesives. That type of adhesives. How to mount to strain gauge? That means how to connect to strain gauge. When mounting a strain gauge, it is important to carefully prepare the surface of the component where the gauge is to be located. So the gauge is placed in the strain gauge equipment. So in that strain gauge equipment, the gauge is placed. So we can clearly observe that strain gauge. Where we locate that gauge, where we locate the gauge position in that uh, element. Okay, so when mounting a strain gauge, it is important to carefully prepare the surface of the component. So wherever we look at the strain measurement, so of that component, it is carefully located and carefully mounted to that strain gauge, and the gauges are location very important to mount a strain gauge. This preparation consists of removing any paint or rust to obtain a smooth but not highly polished surface. So this preparation consists in the mounting of a strain gauge. It consists of there is a paint occur or any rust forming. This type of any elements occurred on that strain gauge. We can remove any type of paint or rust to obtain a smooth but not highly polished surface. But not getting highly polished surface, we can get a uh, that gauge is placed on the element, that gauge is placed on that component. Okay, next solvents are employed to remove all traces of oil or grease. Next solvents are employed to remove all traces of oil or any type of greases are occurred on that strain gauge. We can remove that all of that oils and greases. The surface is etched with an appropriate acid. The surface is etched with an appropriate acid. And finally, the clean, uh, degreased and etched surface is neutralized. This treatment with the basic solution to give it the proper chemical affinity for the adhesive. Proper chemical affinity to the adhesives. So in that cleaning process, that means removing the paint or rust forming or highly polished surface, or all traces of we are removing greases or oils, and we clean with acid. So these are all surfaces, these are all completed. We can get a proper strain gauge element. So in that finally we can get that proper strain gauge. The gauge location is then marked on the specimen. The gauge location, how, where should I connect this gauge on that specimen, we can locate it. The gauge is positioned by using a rigid transparent tape. The gauge is positioned by using a rigid transparent tape. We are using one rigid transparent tape. We can connect this gauge into the specimen. The position and orientation of the gauge are maintained by the tape as squeezing out of the excessive adhesives. What the position and orientation, we can see the what is the position of the specimen. We can see what is the position of gauge. Where should we locate the gauge on that specimen, and orientation of the gauge, and maintained by the tapes as the adhesives is applied, and as the gauge is pressed into place by squeezing out of the excessive adhesives. So it is overall of the mounting of a strain gauge. What are the adhesives? A wide variety of adhesives are available for bonding strain gauges. Factors influencing the selection of a specific adhesive include the carrier material, the operating temperature, the curing temperature, the maximum strain to be measured. These are the different factors influencing the a selection of a specific adhesives in the strain gauge. Adhesives used in the commonly uh, it is listed below. You can see there is a epoxy cement and uh, cyanoacrylate cement, polyester adhesives, ceramic cement. These are the different adhesives used in the strain gauge. Okay, so what is adhesives? It means a wide variety of adhesives used in the available for bonding a strain gauge. Different types of adhesives are bonded with the strain gauge at based upon the different applications. What are the different factors influencing that adhesives? What are the different methods and the selection process? It is the carrier material maintaining, and the operating temperature, and the curing temperature, and the maximum strain to be measured. How much amount of maximum strain we are measuring in at a particular area at a particular application, we can calculate that maximum strain and application we can take. It is to be measured. So what are the adhesives used in the common types of adhesives? It is epoxy cements and cyanoacrylate cement, polyester adhesives, ceramic cements. These are the different types of adhesives bonded with strain gauges. Okay. So what is epoxy cements? Epoxies are a class of thermosetting plastics which in general exhibit a higher bond strength and a higher level of strain at failure than other types of adhesives used to mount strain gauges. Epoxy cements are usually composed of two constituents, a monomer and a hardening agent. The monomer or base epoxy is a light amber fluid which is usually quite viscous. So what is epoxy cements? You can see epoxies are a class of thermosetting plastics. These epoxy cement, what are the types of, what are the use of epoxy cement? What is the material it is? These epoxy cements are thermosetting plastic materials. In general, it exhibits the higher bond strength. Why should we use these epoxy cement adhesive materials in that strain gauge? Because of it gives high bond strength of that strain gauge, high bond strength of that strain gauge, and a higher level of strain at failure than other types of adhesives used to mount strain gauges. And a higher level of strain is occurred on that strain gauge. It should be failed, then other types of adhesives are used in this manufacturing of strain gauges and mounting of strain gauges. Okay, so epoxy systems are usually composed of two constituents. This epoxy system is composed into two constituents. It is a monomer and a hardening agent. These epoxy cements are composed with two constituents. It is a one is monomer and the second one is hardening agent. The monomer or base epoxy is a light amber fluid which is usually quite viscous in nature. The monomer material, it is a epoxy material and light amber fluid. It has a quite viscous fluid. And hardening agent mixed with the monomer will include polymerization. The hardening agent is mixed with the monomer will include the polymerization process. A mine type curing agents produce an exothermic reaction which releases sufficient heat to accomplish curing at room temperatures or a relative low curing temperatures. And anhydride type curing agents require the application of heat to promote polymerization. Temperatures in excess 250 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 120 degrees centigrade, must be applied for several hours to complete polymerization. So it is a epoxy cement, and what are the properties of epoxy cements? It is next one, cyanoacrylate cement. Adhesive consists of a methyl 2 cyanoacrylate compound. A methyl 2 cyanoacrylate compound. This adhesive requires neither heat nor a catalyst to induce polymerization. So this type of cyanoacrylate cement adhesive material, it requires heat or catalyst. So we are using this type of adhesive bonding of strain gauges. It is a heat application or catalyst to induce polymerization process. We are using this type of um, strain gauges. When this adhesive is spread in a thin film between two components, so this type of adhesives are spread in a thin film in that strain gauge between two components to be bonded the minute traces of water or other weak bases on the surface of the components are sufficient to trigger the polymerization process. So in strain gauge applications, a thin film of the adhesive is placed in between the gauge, the specimen, and a gentle pressure is applied for about 1 or 2 minutes, induce polymerization. So in this polymerization process occurred, we are using this type of adhesive uh, material is bonded with the strain gauge to get the uh, surface or it is used in water surfaces or any weak bases of surface specimens. We are using this type of adhesive material is bonded to the strain gauge. And next one, polyester adhesives. Polyesters like epoxies are two component adhesives. Polyesters exhibits a highest shear strength and modulus. However, their peel strength is low and they are less resistant to solvents than epoxies. The primary advantage is the ability to polymerize at a relatively low temperature, getting 5 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So polyester adhesives, it is like epoxy materials, and it has two component adhesives. Polyester exhibits a high shear strength and modulus. However, their peel strength is low and they less resistant to solvent their epoxies. These are the polyester adhesives. And next one, ceramic cements. Ceramic cements. In these ceramic cements, there are two different approaches are used in the bonding strain gauges with ceramic adhesives. Method one is the first utilize a blend of finely ground ceramic powders such as alumina and silica combined with a phosphoric acid. So in that method one, ceramic cements is bonded with the strain gauges. It is ceramic powders such as alumina and silica
is combined with a phosphoric acid. Alumina and silica is combined with the phosphoric acid. Usually, this blend of powders is mixed with a solvent such as isopropyl alcohol and an organic binder to form a liquid mixture, which facilitates handling. Usually, these type of blended of powders we are mixed with the solvents such as isopropyl alcohol or organic binder to form a liquid mixture, which facilitates it handling. A pre-coat of the ceramic cement is applied to form a thin layer of the insulation between the gauge grid and the component. So in that strain gauge, a thin layer is occurred. That amount of thin layers is the uh, adhesive materials. So in these ceramic cements, a pre-coating of the ceramic cement is applied to form a thin layer of the insulation between the gauge grid and the component. A second layer of ceramic cement is then applied to bond the gauge. In this application, the carrier for the gauge is removed and the grid is totally encased in ceramic. The ceramic cements are used primarily for high temperature applications in radiation environments where organic adhesives cannot be employed. These are the method one ceramics we are used in the ceramic cements used in the adhesive materials of the strain gauges. So these are all different strain gauge alloys and materials and adhesives are used in the manufacturing of strain gauges at different types of strain gauges and are used in different applications. Okay, so thank you guys. Next class we will discuss a new topic in this unit. So thank you.